What is up, guys? I'm going to be showing you how the variables work. You've probably known the variables from all of our other videos that we've made, like how, strong platformers. We use variables for that. For almost every video we've made, we've used variables. I'm going to tell you why we use variables. Variables are used for many things, making scores for games, health bars, and a lot of other cool stuff like movement and 3D games. And that's what we're about to explain right now. Let's start by going simple. Movement with variables. So we're going to make a new variable and we're going to name this variable. We can just name it my var for my variable. Then we'll have it for all sprites. We'll explain for all sprites. So let's make a variable named x. We're going to have this for all sprites. Then we're going to have another one. It's named x. X, but it's cat. So we're going to have it for this sprite only. I'll explain the difference between for all sprites and for this sprite only. So let's try by creating clones of myself. Like, one green flag quick, we're just going to create 2 clones. Now let's have this example. One green flag quick, we're going to hide, and we're going to show the clone. For an example, we're going to do forever, and then we're going to glide to a random position. So we're going to make another variable and name it y, and another one named y again for this sprint only. Can you be quiet while I'm making a video? Then why do you guys always do that? When did you start? Shut your mouth. When did you start? Alright, so now we're going to go to random. So we're going to want to put for this sprite only ones. I mean the ones that are for all sprites. And then now, as you can see, we'll use these variables and we'll set it to 1. As you can see, these are just going to go to 1. So we're just going to set these to a random value. 40, negative 40, and then 180, negative 180 to 180. As you can see, they're going in the same exact way. Did you just see that? You see? Now, let's do for this sprite only. We're going to do the x, and we're going to do x. Then x and y. Now, as you can see, they're going in different directions themselves. It's because for this sprite only, I'll explain to you this right now. The one for this sprite only is for one clone only. The one for all sprites is for all clones. So that's why when you put it for this sprite only, it's only for the sprite. And when you put it for all sprites, it's for all clones. Now you get what we're trying to say here. So that's why you shouldn't, when you're trying to make something like zombies, you should always put for this sprite only, so that the zombies can go in different directions, and you end up doing what we need. Now you've explained the basics of the movement variables. We're gonna learn a lot more from it. Okay? So let's say we just what's the we are for all sprites variables ones. Let's delete those and let's keep these. Let's say we do that and we do cam x for all sprites and cam y for all sprites. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna simply set x and then use these, and then of course we're gonna put our cam X and the second ones in the cam Y, and then put the cam Y subtracted with the cam X. Now, if we put these into sliders, if we put these into sliders with the cam X and Y, these will basically simply make it so that we have that. As you can see, they're inside of each other. So, what we're going to do is we're simply going to set it to 50. So as you can see, puts it back more. So, what we're going to do is we're going to have a random number of x. Random number to 50 and negative 50. Or 50 through 0. There we go. We're just putting negative 50. As you can see, we have these, and as you can see, they spawn in these directions. How good is this? And you can mess with these values whatever you want. Whenever, whatever. So, as you can see, this is looking good. As you can see, we've just made this little project. That's what it's mainly used for. It's mainly used for also speeds when people are trying to make games. Wait, let's say, we set the X, and we're set to, like, let's just not make clones anymore, and let's show. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab a forever, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna simply change X, and then we're actually going to multiply by 3. Instead of multiplying by 3, we multiply by speed. Speed is used for many projects that people make. For like catching games that get faster and faster, that's what people use speed for. And they always make it for all sprites. Then we'll set speed, we'll multiply speed by that. Then we'll set the speed to 3 for that. That means we'll be multiplying by 3. It doesn't do anything yet. Let's make it set the arrow keys. You can use the arrow keys. So put that into that. And we're going to put our arrow key checks. Put the right arrow and the left arrow. And we're going to put this inside. As you can see, we move left and right. And the more I change the speed, as you can see, we're moving 10 steps at a time. And then we can move 100 steps at a time really fast. As you can see. But yeah, that's what the variable speed should do when you're making games. As you can see, that's what it's doing its job and doing its speed. So that's how speed works. People use this for a lot more things, but people mainly use it for stuff like this. Now for the next thing that people use variables for, costumes. People use variables for costumes to make animation. Like, let's say we have, you see this running animation right here? Let's make an animation where there's also this thing right here for the idol. And there. So we have this running animation and the idol. It should be at the beginning. And I'll name each and every one of these costumes. Idol. I'll name this Walk 1. And this should be Walk 2. There we go. Now that we've named our costumes, let's start with the actual thing. So we need to know if we are an idol or if we're not an idol and we're walking. What we're going to do here is simply switching the costume, and when we go in the idol, we should switch the costume idol. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch the costume, and we're going to mod this costume. We're going to mod it between 2 and make a new variable and name it costume. Then we're gonna have it for this brand only. Make sure it's for this brand only. Mod it by 2. Actually 3. And then we'll go to the next costume. As you can see, we can only go in those. So we mod it by 1. See, we can still only go in those. If we mod it by 2, as you can see, we go into these 2, which is good. So, we're going to switch the costume. That's what people do. And then, as you can see, we should only be modding by the actual thing. So we should actually just do this. Instead of just going, we should just, yeah, do that. So, to do this, we're going to add a mod to this. So just get the mod block right here, and we'll mod by 2. This will simply only go to this costume. So if we mod by 3, this will simply go to all costumes. Well, perhaps just once. So if we just mod by 1, this will go to 2 costumes, which is very good. Because now, as you can see, we're setting the costume to 2 after we're done. So if you set the costume to 3 after we're done, we should set to over here if the left arrow key pressed. So this is good. Great start here. So delete this. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab an if. And basically we're going to check if we're greater than. And you can put wherever yours is at, but I'm going to do if greater than 2. That means we're over here. But if we're greater than 3, that means we're in the idle. That means we should switch back to 2. Right. So, if greater than 3 and the costume, then we should simply set the costume back to 2. And then we need to check if our arrow key is not pressed. So, if not or. If not or, checking if these arrow keys are pressed, then we should switch the costume 1. Now, as you can see, the arrow keys are pressed. As you can see, it's still changing the costume 1. As you can see, we're not changing the costume when we click onto the arrow keys. That is not good. So, we're going to just make it like that. So, just going to put these inside of here. And we're simply going to change the costumes by 1. And we're going to set the costume to 0. Set the costume to 1 perhaps. And if greater than 2, set to 1. 2 actually. If greater than 3. If not, go to idle. As you can see, nothing's really working here. As you can see, we should just, if greater than, we should just do if less than. If less than 1, set to 2. So, less than is basically going up in the costume editor. So if less than 2, if less than, so that means if less than 3, set to 2. If less than 2, and set to 3. So as you can see, this is what animation we're pretty much going to get. Because we don't really have an animation. So we're actually going to just duplicate these. As you can see, you can actually see it more since we duplicated that. And then F lesson 2. Oh, same mechanics. Yeah. Let's set the costume 2. Lesson 3. So as you can see, it's not working because if greater than, if we're greater than, and then if we're greater than 4, and set to 2. As you can see, we have this nice animation. It's not really an animation since it's really quick. But as you can see, that is how the costume, that's how people use their costumes, and they go right back to the idol. So yeah, that's how people use costumes. Now, let's learn how to use lists. People use lists to save data and use data later. That's what I'm going to be showing you. People use it for grids, just like me, and people use it for basically a lot of stuff. I'll show you the basics of it. Let's make a list, and let's name this. I don't know what to name this here. What should we name this? Let's just name this Y, and then we're gonna have it for display only. Make sure it's for display only, or it's not gonna work. Then, what the lists will do is basically know where we're gonna go. So, what we're gonna do is we're just going to do sprite 1 Y. So we're just going to delete all of Y and add Y. What adding is just adding a Y position. We'll add a Y position and we'll go negative 100. Now we're going to make a new variable and we're going to name this index Y. So index Y should be good. Index Y. So we're going to have this. For display only. Make sure it's for display only. Then what we're gonna do is we can't actually spawn in that position yet. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab an item 1 of this is basically the item 1 of this, but we're not gonna use item 1 just in case you want to use other things. We're gonna use this. Then we're gonna set X to 0 and set the Y to that. So as you can see, the item index hasn't changed yet. So we'll set the item index to 1. And if you didn't know, if you haven't checked out my scrolling RPG tutorial, not the one with trees, crafting trees and stuff like that, but the one that has the box and you can talk to the NPC, I used Wisp for that. So as you can see, we have spawned in negative 100, just like it says in the Wisp. And you could do the same with costumes too. That's how I also made that grid that I showed you guys in my second video. Or third, I forgot. But, yeah, that's what we did here. That's what we did. So, yeah. Pretty much, we just, yeah, so, just. In the next video, I'll show you how the making your own blocks work. Like, when you make your own block, I'll show you how to use those. And variables are actually used for a lot of different things. like also using blocks. But this is just basic. What I was showing you, like replace item 1 with thing, basically replacing the item 1 with thing, as you can see. And the length of y, I have no idea what that is, because if y contains thing, which it does, it's true. Y does contain thing, because it shows thing in here, so it does have thing. If you know what I'm talking about. Item hashtag of thing is 1. Item number of thing and y is at number 1. But if I just add another one, then just I don't know, like thing 2, and then put thing 2. As you can see, it says that thing 2 is in the second row. And I can even name it something else, like IDK. As you can see, it's not true, so that's 0. So IDK is number 2, which it is. So that's how it works. That's how the item this works. This just hides the list and shows the list of y. See, I just hide it, so it showed again. And so, yeah, and then insert thing at 1 is basically adding thing first. As you can see, it just adds that first. But if I make it at second, you can see it adds at the second. But if I make it at third, it can't be at third because there's nothing second. But as you can see, that's how all of the list blocks work.